Give them a shot to do what?
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, aka the Shy Kid, and you are listening to the Shy Kid podcast, only brought to you by Give Us a Shot Network. So give us a shot. Check out the bio, links below. If you're lazy, it's okay. We got the link provided right below you. You can just click it, find us on all social media platforms. We got a super cool guest today that's also on social media right now. She's live on TikTok because she couldn't let her fans down. We got the queen of Cleveland, Ohio, Ball Talk with Brandy. Brandy Marie's joining us. Brandy, how we feeling?
Hey guys, I'm good. How are you?
Man, I'm exhausted. It's 3 a.m. We're doing this. You know, I'm not a morning person, so I try to get it out the day before.
Right, night
Um,
owls.
but first, I want to get it in with you. Talk about it. Cleveland Cavaliers playoff basketball. You got my
Mhm.
boy on the squad, Donovan Mitchell. Still pains me he's not a Bull right now, but it's okay. It's Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball. I'm supposed to be happy about it, but
Right.
talk to me a little bit about where you're at right now with the play-in going on and just understanding what's happening right now with the Cleveland scene, man. I mean, it's coming up, but it's also a lot of questions at the coaching perspective. Where are you at with it?
Honestly, I'm nervous for Saturday. So, yeah, first game. Luckily, we're in Cleveland, so we got home court. That's good. That's something that we didn't have last year when we played against New York. But I think this is going to be really telling, especially for JB Bickerstaff's job. There's been a lot of talk since last season about him and whether he should stay or they should have let him go by now. But I think we saw him make a lot of mistakes last year in playoffs when we played New York. The Cavs did not look like the Cavs last year in playoffs. So, I'm hoping they're able to get at least out of this first round. But I think if they don't, that will be JB's last game coaching for Cleveland.
I think you have to. I think you have to at that point. This team has zero excuses. You have the X factors, you have the defense, the shooting. But one thing we like to do on here, man, is always give the X factor. The other night, people called me crazy. They were telling me iced out Trey was gonna cook the Chicago Bulls. I said X factor of the night, Io DeSumo. I'm taking the under 25 points. And
Mm.
for everybody tuning in this morning that was against me, 22 points on your head. Bulls win. Let's go, baby. Let's go. We here Friday against Miami. But for you, X factor of the game, obviously Donovan Mitchell is always the biggest name, but you've covered this team from start to finish over the years. Who's somebody that we should be on the lookout for going into this matchup that not a lot of people are looking at?
Ooh, that's hard. Honestly, I want to go with Sam Miro. I mean, a lot
Mm.
of people kind of have been learning his name recently, but I think obviously him, he can get in the game and he could, next thing you know, three back to back threes, and he's already, near 10 points. So I think he's definitely someone to watch out. Same with George Niang, either one of them could come off the bench and they can get hot from the three.
For sure. You left out the Strauss father. So
Him
it pains my
too.
heart.
Him too.
Pains my heart. But I want to get into the play-in just really quickly because, I mean, there's so many different storylines we could start off with tonight. I know you being from Cleveland. We're obviously going to talk about Bron. I had to throw in a little Bron talk for you.
Right.
Gotta make a TikTok clip out of it. But I want to start off with someone who had just as much hype coming out of college as LeBron James did, Zion Williamson. Everybody's killing me right now on Twitter for a tweet I tweeted out after he left the game with a hamstring injury. That was the most unathletic hamstring injury I've ever seen. My man just jumped up about 2 feet, I would say, and just pulled his hammy. He's going to be out Friday. So I want to run this by you. I want you to know, am I tripping? Because I'm at this point right now, 4 years into the Zion Williamson experiment, didn't finish his collegiate career. And long story short, let's just say 19-year-old Mike Hughes was in a hospital bed after a crazy accident that happened. I'm on morphine. I'm sitting there watching Duke, and I see this man's shoe explode, and I don't know what's happening. So I'm like, oh, freak accident. That didn't even happen. Next day, I find out he's not going to play another game as a Duke Devil. Same thing is happening right now at the NBA level. 184 games played out of 328. That is missing more than 60% of your NBA career. And in the 10 games, counting this Friday, that the New Orleans Pelicans have played in since drafting Zion, he has played in one, and he hasn't finished that game. Brandy, would you say Zion's teetering on that bus level conversation?
I think definitely. I think a lot of times people are like wondering, like, where is he at? He's still hurt. I think when the shoe incident happened, it was like we've never seen that happen before.
Right.
Like, still to this day. So
I'm
I
sitting there like, what just happened? Like it's a what was it, a Nike shoe too at that? I
think
was like,
so.
it's not like we're wearing triple B's over here. Shout out LeVar Ball. But
Right. But yeah, that's something we've never seen. So I don't know if that kind of like started this injury prone thing since he had that injury. But I mean, it sucks seeing him be so injured, missing so many games because we saw him score 40 points the other night. When he's out there, he's able to be productive. So it does suck that he has been hurt so much. But I think that is a conversation because they get on these players who miss more than 10 games now. So
did you see DiVincenzo misses the most improved player of the year award by 9 seconds? It's like
I didn't. Oh my gosh.
blue, and that's my Italian stallion over there. You know, he's with Tibbs. He's doing his thing. I'm like, come on, like Kobe's gonna win it. I don't care. Kobe or Maxi's gonna win it. That's what it's gonna come down to. Because we're gonna talk about it in a little bit. But apparently, Kobe's 42-point game doesn't even exist. So we'll get into that later about the play-in. But you know, I'm seeing all these things happen with Zion 40, 11, and 5 in 36 minutes. People think I'm saying he's a bust because he's not a hooper. Dude's a dog. When he's there, he is great. But I coach baseball, I coach sports all the time, and I tell kids, man, the best ability is availability. If you got a 5-star sitting right in front of you, but his ACL don't work, guess who's playing the majority of the year? You better be ready for it. And I think like
Right.
the word bust, I think has changed so much over the years, especially if you're from the street, especially if you're from a city. If you a bust, you a bust, woo, 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 whatever. Like everybody just thinks that means you can't ball. To me, and I want to ask you the definition of the word bust. Do you think being injury prone plays a role in that? Because to me, the argument I made, Mitchell Trubisky of the Chicago Bears, my twin, I mean, dog shit. That's just, for lack of a better word, dog shit. That's what you're a fucking bust. Now, RG3, even though I didn't appreciate the Caleb Williams comment, I can agree that he wasn't a bust because he couldn't ball. Guy was out there doing generational things we had never seen before since Michael Vick, but he
Mhm.
just couldn't stay healthy. So where are you at in the bust definition? I think you're kind of in the same boat as me. Is like, yeah, I would say Zion is on that teetering bust. He's not Greg Oden, but he's definitely on that level.
Yeah. I don't know. That is kind of hard. One, Mitch Trubisky, I went to high school with him. So it's all love with him always. But I don't know. It is kind of hard just because you see like Derrick Rose and the injuries that he's had. But he
Mhm.
was MVP. So I wouldn't consider him a bust because he still has had a great career. People talk even about Kyrie all the time. I wouldn't consider him a bust either. So I think at a certain point, if you're always able to perform at a high level when you are on the court, then I wouldn't consider you a bust. But obviously, you could have had a better career if you weren't able to be that injured.
Right, for sure, for sure. And first of all, I didn't even know you went to high school with Mitchell Trubisky, so shout out to him.
I
Yeah, that's my dog. At the end of the day, I was a Mitch truther. I walked into every bar. It'd be like, when he first came in, they were like, "Man, you look just like him." I'd be like, "Thanks, man, thanks." And then 3 years later, they're like, "Man, you look just like him, man. Fuck you." And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God, you kind
"I'm
of
so
do. That
sorry.
is funny.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." No, literally, any white guy that comes into Chicago with a beard, they're like, "You look just like him," and I'm like,
Oh my
"Okay."
gosh.
Like it's horrible. But we're talking about bust. We're talking about not meeting expectations. The Warriors dynasty, and more so the big three. Because I'm never gonna take Steph out of that conversation. They can put pieces together this offseason and they could be right back at it. Like I thought yeah, Giannis might have been in that conversation just a few years ago, but with Dame now, I doubt it. But with that being said, my second favorite player of all time, and I'm gonna say this closing my eyes because I don't even want to be present right now. Klay Thompson, 0 points in a game 7. This is the third, not game 7, in a play-in atmosphere against the Kings after last year's game 7 against the Kings. You look at it and you're like, man, what's going on? The last three do or die situations for Klay Thompson have been absolutely horrendous. We're looking at the numbers, we're looking at what he's been able to do. Last three elimination games, Kings game 7, he went 4 for 19 from the field, shooting 21%, 16 points. Say cool, 16 points. You did your job, whatever. If you want to pat yourself on the back. Lakers game 3, 3 for 19, 15.8%, 8 points, team low, minus 33 on the plus minus. And then last night, 0 for 10 from the field, 0%, big donut, 0 points. And the big one for me, Brandy, was just the attitude. I felt like, and Clay's my guy. I love Clay, but like in the post game, they're asking him about like, hey, what do you think the future of this team? And you don't even want to ask me about the game.
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask you about the game? What are we going to talk about? You just burned some cardio for the last 30 minutes. Where are you at right now with Klay Thompson and just everything going on throughout the last couple years?
Yeah, I think honestly for me this whole year, I honestly didn't even think past the All-Star break he would have been on the Warriors. I thought it was already going to be resolved and he'd be somewhere else. I think we saw the past couple years I wasn't too worried. I'm like, oh, they're going to stay together. But this year I think it was really telling seeing him move to coming off the bench. I think that was a big thing when people were like, wait a second. But I mean, since the start of the season, their chemistry has been way different than we've seen. You guys know us Cavs fans saw the Warriors all the time in the finals, so I already know, how they could play. But it's definitely sad, seeing their dynasty go to what it is this season and having so much chemistry, like seems just like it disappeared. But you could tell Clay when he was walking off the court, he kind of was leaving and then he turned back around. Some people are speculating if he's going to retire. I don't think he's going to do that, but I don't think he'll be a Warrior.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, and I'm super biased because this is one of my favorite two-way players of all time, next to guys like True Holiday. I geek over guys like that. I'm 5'8", so like, of course, like I'm watching guys like, oh man, defense and threes, like that's all I can provide. So it's like I
Mm-hmm.
loved growing up watching these guys, and they really made high school basketball what it was. We're looking at the rivalry of KD and Russell Westbrook and Jimmy Butler, Dwayne Wade, Rajon Rondo, Cavs versus Warriors all the time. Like we're watching Kobe's retirement, all this different stuff going on when you and I were shorties just growing up. And it was just like, to
Yeah.
me, that 2010 to 2017 window. I'll even put 2016 because when KD went to the Warriors, things kind of shifted. But that was like peak top three basketball in the world at all time, in my opinion. And to watch these three do what they did for championships, I mean, it's incredible. But I want to ask you, like, where you're at right now as it pertains to Draymond Green. Obviously, in my personal opinion, you have Klay Thompson, who I don't think is going to retire anytime soon. I'd say there's over 20 teams right now that would be interested in Klay Thompson today. And the Chicago Bulls should be one of them because every Bulls fan's clowning him right now on Twitter. But I remember when he gave us a 30 ball earlier in December. So, I mean, I was over there with my Klay jersey. I was rocking it. But for Draymond, big old contract. The issues continue. I mean, I feel like every other day, Steve Kerr just looks like a mom of a child of the street. I mean, she's just disappointed every day. So where are you at right now with Dre? Do you see him being on the move, or can they not move him because of that contract?
I was literally just talking about this with my dad the other day, and I was saying, I don't know, I feel like the Warriors would have probably already tried to move him. I think there's two big things. One, the contract, even if he didn't have all these issues. Two, he has all these issues on the court. Teams are seeing that, they don't want to deal with it. So I think it's those two big things that is going to be hard. But I honestly don't know because I don't really see another team right now wanting to deal with that when there's these young guys coming up that can do the same thing, if not more than him right now.
Right. And I think a problem with it, like we talked about the James Harden situation and why the NBA is so different than Major League Baseball is you have to match the salaries. Like even the 76ers are like, man, we'll just take the 1-year deals that are expiring deals. We'll fill in that max slot. Get James the fuck out of here. Like that's just what it was. And for the Warriors, it's not only do you have to find those expiring deals because you don't want somebody long term that you're not fully invested in or Curry's not fully invested in. You
Mm-hmm.
have to potentially offer more. You have to offer not a Jonathan Kuminga level player, but definitely some draft capital or prospects that could develop into something just to get this guy out of here. So, you know, I'm just saying, Chicago Bulls, pick up the phone. We've had Dennis Rodman before. I'll take Draymond Green and a couple first-round picks if we got to do it. I'm willing to sacrifice
Mm-hmm.
that. But, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see where Dre goes. I know he's huge with LeBron. I know you've spoken about that before. They're at each other's wedding. Like, I could see him ending up in LA, but I could also see that very quickly turning into something else when LeBron's pissed off because Draymond is kicked out, ejected in the first 2 minutes of the game. But it's just one of those things for me where I think all things come to an end. And when we talk about it all the time, Kyrie Irving, for you in Cleveland, it didn't go the way people wanted it to go. Not everybody gets a graceful exit. Not everybody has the Dwayne Wade final tour or the Kobe Bryant retirement speech. Like I remember you and I were talking about it when it happened. I
Mhm.
never in a million years, I know basketball fans will tell me to stick to basketball, but to tell me that Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez didn't even get to finish the season, traded at the deadline, like that's shit you don't write. Like that is stuff that it's not how it's supposed to go, but that's just the business of the game. So going into 2025 for you,
Mhm.
what do the Warriors need to do in order to keep the dynasty conversation alive, despite whether it's big three or not? Whether it's Clay and Dre, whoever. What do you think? I know it's on kind of on blast, but who could they trade for, or who could they sign in free agency to play with Curry?
I haven't thought about that. The one thing though I do think about is if they regret getting rid of Jordan Poole and not Draymond at that time. Because Jordan Poole was playing very well for them. But who could I think of him now with? Oh my gosh. I don't even know. It's so crazy just because it's been the Splash Brothers for so long. Like, we
Right.
haven't seen him play with anybody else. You don't know how that's going to work. I
No,
have
for
no
sure.
idea.
For sure. It's hard because at first you have to find out who's available and who's not. And like one guy I mentioned, I was like, well, depending on what happens with Bron and Bronny, if there's validity to that and somebody's like, hey, maybe the Bulls are like, fuck it, last ditch effort. We're going to draft Bronny and then we're going to get LeBron. Like, you know what I mean? These are just conversations. Or Cleveland says, hey, let's do a 1-year reunion. Let's run it back and have the king and his son. That'd be the coolest thing. Could you end up getting Anthony Davis if the Lakers decide to go into a full-blown rebuild? There's a lot of different ways it can go. Zach LaVine is on the market. Lonzo Ball's on the market. DeMar DeRozan. Everybody on the Bulls is on the market. I'm just throwing it out there. We take our calls. But at the end of the day, I think it's
Now.
it's gonna come down to it. It's gonna come down to it. And I thought Donovan Mitchell could have been a conversation too. I know you don't want to hear that, but I know they were kind of feeling.
We hear that every day here, I think. There's not a
Why do you hear that every day though is my question. Is it because of the standard you think LeBron and Kyrie and Love set, and then obviously going into this new era they just expect greatness, or do you think Don has to be held more accountable? Cuz I'm a huge Don fan. I think Don is what's going to save your franchise right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why. I think a lot of the talk before he came here was him wanting to go to New York so bad. So I think
Mhm.
when he first came here, like that was a huge talk. Like everybody was just like, he wants to be in New York. Like he doesn't want to be in Cleveland. But I don't know. I'm just like, shut up. Like let him play while he's here. Enjoy it.
Right. No, that's how I felt about Darius Garland too. People were like, he's not great enough. He's not a big enough scorer. He's not tall enough. He's not physical enough. I'm like, bro, just like love his game. Like love what he brings. When they pair him up with guys like Jared Allen, everything's going to be okay. Isaac Okoro when he was there. We got all these names. Evan Mobley. I mean, people don't even talk about. He was one of my X factors for the Cleveland game because I just feel
Yeah,
like not even though he's a big name in Cleveland, I feel like not enough people talk about Evan Mobley.
that's
Um,
true.
but something I want to talk to you about because very rarely, very, very rarely do I get to talk about Chicago Bulls basketball in a good light. The Bulls dog walk Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in game. That's what we do best every single year. There's 3 things guaranteed: death, taxes, and a Bulls play-in game because we're never good enough to be in the upper seeds. But no Lonzo Ball, no Zach LaVine. Bidham's right. I don't even know how to properly diagnose what happened to him, but basically his retina got detached. So right
Yeah.
before the game. So I don't know what happened to him. Praying for him. I hope they didn't even tell us, Brandy. They didn't even tell the media if they figured it out. They were just like,
Really?
yeah,
Oh my
he
God.
might have one eye right now. I have no idea.
Oh,
Um,
let's hope not.
Let's hope not. But Kobe White absolutely dominates, career high, quote unquote, 42 points. He was absolutely phenomenal. All year long, I've been screaming most improved player. I was there the game. They went on that, 6-game winning streak, and they just absolutely dog walked the Milwaukee Bucks early on. Kobe White has just been so phenomenal for this team. And he went on a record and said, I'm definitely counting that as my career high. It's on the stat sheet right here. He shows the stat sheet. The NBA is saying, nah, this doesn't count. This game doesn't exist. The play-in is non-existent to us. But all year long, that's all they do is talk to us about, being involved and being invested in the in-season tournament and the play-in games.
Mhm.
Brandy, how do you feel about the play-in not counting, the play-in not even being a statistic category in NBA history when you have Kobe White with a career high 42 points? And I want to put this one in your brain too. If this game doesn't hold any weight, if this game doesn't exist, then what did Jimmy Butler just blow out his knee for? If this game has no value, you're telling me that, yeah, Jimmy, bro, this game doesn't even exist, bro. Walk it off.
Mhm. Yeah, that's crazy. I get it's not like a tally in the book in their record, but those teams, the 10 seed teams, they haven't won a game yet in this play-in tournament. And they go home. So this game does count for something. So I think that is silly to say that people's points or career highs don't count because honestly, this is a big game for those teams that are losing because their season's over with.
Yeah, for sure. And especially as a Bulls fan, you're just like, just let us have a win. Just let us be happy. Like this is so huge for Kobe White and his career. Obviously, we all understand Zach LaVine's gone at the end of the year. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know who takes him. I don't know what the return package is on that. It's a whole pod for a different day. But we know that this is the Kobe White era, and that's really what it's gonna come down to. The UC is screaming Kobe White right now in the Shy. The number 0 jerseys are everywhere, and I was a Tar Heels fan in high school. So I watched every single Kobe White game and I wanted him number 7 overall and I wanted him to be who he is today. But Jim Boylan had other plans, obviously, at that time. But it's going to
Right.
be exciting to see what happens. Another former Bull, one of our last topics of the night. I know I got you a little longer.
Oh no,
Um,
you're good.
Jimmy Butler. I was literally the happiest guy in the world when I found out they lost that game because I said, "Oh, Jimmy's going to remind the Bulls again, just like last year in the play, and he's going to remind the world not only is he top 10 player, but the Bulls organization traded his ass away just to dog him in the playoffs again." So I was hyped for it. We find out earlier today Jimmy's out for the next several weeks. They're thinking 4 to 7 with an MCL injury. I don't know if it was a full blown tear or what the diagnosis was on that. But no playoff Jimmy in 2024. So for you, first with the Miami Heat, what does that mean for them? Who do you see kind of stepping up and filling in that number 1 option role? And number 2, just give me your take on playoff Jimmy as a whole. Do you buy into Jimmy says there's no such thing as playoff Jimmy? Do you believe that playoff Jimmy is a real thing?
There's definitely playoff Jimmy. I don't know what he's talking about. Jimmy Buckets is real. But no, I'm definitely sad. I think especially last year, people saw them be the A seed, made it all the way to the finals. So I think out of like one team in playoffs, people were so excited to see them again. So it is sad to, see he's going to be hurt so long. Like their season might be over by the time he's able to come back. But the one person, which they got him in a trade recently, who I think is going to step up is Terry Rozier. He's
Mm.
from Cleveland, so I got to go with him too. But I definitely think him. We saw him do that in Boston when Kyrie got hurt. So keep your eye on him.
I like that. I like that. You know what? I was watching that entire game against the 76ers, and there were so many storylines in it from Tobias Harris over me, Jimmy feeling slighted because they decided to go after Tobias Harris and re-sign him because Ben Simmons and the coaching staff felt some type of way about the way Jimmy talked to them, to Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry being on the other side of things. They end up with Kyle Lowry at the end of the year. He started the year in Miami. So there were so many storylines, man. I loved it. But did you hear the completely false rumor about Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler on the bus?
No,
They
what?
said after this was a reporter, an actual beat writer for the Miami Heat said on the
Oh
bus,
my God.
Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero got into a physical altercation because Jimmy kept screaming 9 for 27. Then they said, I don't know how you're on the team bus hearing this.
Say, wait.
He says Tyler turns around, tries to swing on Jimmy, doesn't connect, and Jimmy goes 9 for 28 now. As much as I loved that going viral because it definitely was a Jimmy Butler-esque moment. Like it's something you would believe.
Mm-hmm.
There's no validity to this. I have to say that. So give us a shot. Doesn't get any emails later. But like, how realistic do you think that even sounds if you were to hear that word to mouth from somebody because of the history of Jimmy Butler?
He does have a lot of, sometimes tea around him. I don't know. That story does seem crazy to me.
It was the missing and then saying 9 for 28. I was like, that's Jimmy. That's literally the petty shit I know from
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler.
he's
It
petty.
I mean, it's the Tobias Harris over me comment. Like that's really but I thought if it was anybody, no disrespect, I'm not calling anybody a bad teammate or anything, but I don't think Tyler would be the one. Tyler is kind of, Jimmy's taking him under his wing. I could see it from Terry. I could see it from Bam. I'm definitely not seeing it from Duncan because Duncan's the quiet kid that just sits in the back. He's just listening to his own podcast. I don't see it. But the last topic for Miami, I don't want to be a hater because this team's made the finals twice. This team is great, but realistically, draft wise, they just haven't really been able to capitalize. They haven't gotten Jimmy Young assets outside of Tyler Hero to really pair him up with. Bam Adebayo, just like we talked about Anthony Davis in the past, really hasn't taken that Batman role for Jimmy to be Robin. Tyler's gone in and out from off the bench to starting in the rotation to, being with Jack Harlow on tour. I have no idea where this kid's going. So
Right.
do you think this offseason there is a realistic conversation that the Miami Heat move on from Jimmy Butler to get the best they can in a return package for him?
Maybe. I think it honestly depends on who they can get in return for them to entertain it. Because I think certain deals they probably wouldn't even look at.
Right.
But maybe another piece around him moves.
I think that's really where I'm at. Like, if you could really, we talked about it all off season, off camera. I don't know why Brandy and I don't have a show together, but we're always talking ball. I
Right.
thought
We'll get there.
like Tyler Hero and a couple picks, Damian Lillard, bring them in, and then you have a real conversation here. Even, let's have a real conversation right now. If Damian Lillard is on this squad, I'm kind of thinking maybe there is a chance they keep going and maybe Jimmy can come back at some point. But now without him, it's like, I mean, Gabe Vincent's gone, Max Strauss is gone. Those are really the only guys that held you down in the playoffs last year. And I'm not even looking at Tyler and Bam. Respectfully, Bam's really more of a stretch four. They put him at the 5, and that's cool. But come on, bro, you're not a 5. That's real. But yeah, I don't know. I think right now I'll send Zach LaVine and a couple firsts for Jimmy Butler. Redo the trade. We can swap back. I'm cool. Swap back 8 years later. I'm completely content with that. One of our last topics of the night, I wanted to get your take. LA Lakers, your boy, the king of Akron,
Right.
LeBron James going up against Nikola Jokic. Who you got? How many games? And what is the level of urgency at this point in Bron's career to win?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, we don't know when his last season will be. It could very well be this one or in 1 or 2 seasons. We don't know, but I think I think we notice with the Lakers, they play like la 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 during regular season, and then once playoffs hit, they like turn. But I think he would be like chasing his last ring right now. So I do think he's going to win one more at least before he retires. But I don't know. They're going against a tough team. Like, I don't know. We're going to have to. I think this whole series depends on how AD is able to play against Jokic. I think that's going to be a big factor. And I think they're also going to need D'Angelo Russell to play really well. Games that he plays well in, they win.
Man, crazy. And no hate in my heart here. The second Derrick Rose left the Chicago Bulls, I started actually watching LeBron from a non-biased perspective and appreciating greatness. So I had to get that out. Gotta let you know there's no hate. But I'm just saying the games LeBron has not played in this year, the Lakers have also done extremely well, which was kind of crazy statistically. But I also saw that from a Ja Morant perspective last year. And they were like, they're so much better without Ja. And then you see them this year and you're like, right. But with that, my X factor going into this game, I agree with you. I think it's D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell, the second he found out he was on the trade block, just turned into Steph Curry at 2015. Like, I mean, there's no other way to put it. And I was one of those advocates. Like, I'll trade for D'Lo right now. Yeah, I'll trade Jaio or whoever you want. Like, it's completely cool. But the one issue I do have is when you look at a Michael Porter Jr. or an Aaron Gordon, all Bones and all the shooters on Denver, the perimeter defense is definitely something that I felt like they didn't address at the deadline. I thought they were going to go after our boy Caruso. I thought they were going after him. Didn't end up happening. No reunion in LA. But is there anybody you're looking at right now defensively who needs to step up other than AD when it comes to the 3 ball for Denver?
Maybe people off the bench,
Mm.
like Torian Prince. Yeah, people like that. I think their bench is gonna have to stand up too, because I think we have seen during the regular season people have been able to keep Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. quiet, and then I mean you still big people worry about with Jamal Murray and Jokic still, but I think if you're able to at least stop two of their shooters, they're gonna have good time defensively.
Most definitely. I'm going with Austin Reeves just because I actually watch his games and I just all the time I'm like, Austin, what are you doing? His back's turning around, he's doing circles, he's
Mhm.
just kind of hanging out. But then he hits a couple threes, and because he's a white boy, ESPN goes crazy. So I'm like, all right,
I
like
love him.
have these same conversations about Tyler Hero. I'm like, dude, your defense is awful. But Brandy, we appreciate you being here. Really quickly before you get out of here, we got to talk about the next LeBron James. I have to throw it in you. You're from Cleveland. You understand the
Mhm.
expectations. Victor Wembanyama today, is he your defensive player of the year?
Hmm. I think. Hmm. I don't really know who I would pick over him.
Right now, they have him at 2. Rudy Gobert is number 1. This is according to like a mock on ESPN.
Hmm. Maybe Victor then.
I'm like, fuck, like, respectfully, I'm like, fuck Rudy, bro. Like, we've been there, we've done that. He's not even all that. Like, Cat is there. This is one of the best defenses in the league. I would give it to the kid. I think I really would.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Most,
definitely had a good season. And, he has Coach Pop over there. So they're going to do well. I'm excited to see more pieces around him and see how they continue to grow as a team.
most definitely. Brandy, we appreciate you being here really quickly. If you have it on you, where can people find you? What are your social tags? And of course, where can everybody listen to Ball Talk with Brandy? Because it's 10 times better than anything I'm pumping out.
Oh my gosh, she's lying. Well, thank you for having me. And
Of course.
then my Instagram is at Brandy Marie X, or my Ball Talk page is just at Ball Talk with Brandy. On both my Instagrams, I've linked to my website, and that's where you can watch every episode that I've done on my show.
Make sure you guys check her out on TikTok as well. She's going live all the time, having therapy sessions at 3 in the morning. We got live roosters, men talking about cheating on their wives, and so many other things. Brandy, we appreciate you being here. This is Mike Hughes from the Shy Kid Podcast, only brought to you by the Give Us a Shot Network. So give us a shot. Hit the link in the bio below. Check us out on all social media platforms. We have Michael Powers, who just interviewed Eric Hosmer the other day, talking about his time as a Chicago Cub. And obviously, is facing off against Mike's New York Mets in 2015. Until then, check you guys out later. Peace.